The screen fades from black. A deep cinematic voice breaks the silence. Sometimes, the smallest post, the simplest duty, hides the heaviest story. She was only assigned to the gate, until a SEAL commander saluted her first. The camera zooms in slowly on a lone figure standing under the morning sun, her uniform crisp but her eyes distant, shadowed by memories she never spoke of. Private First Class Emily Hart had never asked for glory. She didn't crave medals or rank. Her assignment was simple, too simple, some said. Guard duty at the east gate of Fort Ashland. A job most soldiers brushed off as light work, the kind given to new recruits or those recovering from something they weren't ready to talk about. For Emily, it was both. Every morning at 0500 hours, she stood tall at her post, rifle slung, scanning IDs, logging vehicles, nodding at salutes, and keeping her face neutral. It was the kind of duty where no one expected history to unfold. Where the world passed you by, day after day, unnoticed. But Emily's story was written differently. 3 months earlier, Afghanistan. Her platoon had been ambushed outside Kandahar. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was a combat medic, barely 2 years into service, assigned mostly to base clinic rotations. But when one of the medics dropped out before deployment, she filled the gap. That day, a convoy had rolled into a kill zone. Explosions tore the road apart. Bullets rained. And in the chaos, Emily did what she was trained for, not to fight, but to save. She ran into fire, dragging men twice her size to cover, patching wounds with trembling hands, and ignoring the searing pain in her leg where shrapnel had embedded itself. She kept working even after she was hit, refusing evacuation until every man she could reach was stabilized. By the time reinforcements arrived, 12 soldiers were alive because of her. But the Army didn't always tell stories like that. The report was filed, the mission classified. Her bravery was buried under paperwork, her wounds brushed off as non-critical. After recovery, they gave her an easy post, the gate. Quiet, forgettable. Except heroes don't disappear. Not forever. One afternoon, as the sun burned hot over the asphalt, a convoy of black SUVs approached the gate. Emily snapped to attention, scanning the IDs one by one. Her expression didn't change when she reached the man in the last vehicle. Tall, broad-shouldered, eyes that carried the weight of wars no civilian would ever know. The ID read, Commander James Rourke, United States Navy SEALs. She handed it back with her usual formality, ready to wave him through. But then, he froze. His eyes flicked to her name patch. Hart, he said, his voice low but sharp, as though the word itself pulled him back into a memory. Emily stiffened. Yes, sir. For a long moment, Rourke just stared. And then, to her shock, he stepped out of the SUV. His men watched in confusion as the commander, decorated, battle-hardened, feared, walked up to the gate guard and snapped a crisp, flawless salute. The base went silent. Emily blinked, caught between confusion and disbelief. Sir. Rourke's voice carried, steady but thick with emotion. I owe you my life, Private Hart. 3 months earlier, same ambush. One of the men she had dragged from the fire was a Navy SEAL. Shot through the chest, bleeding out, gasping for air. She hadn't even known his name. She only knew that if she stopped compressions, he would die. So she didn't stop. She rode with him in the burning Humvee, hands covered in his blood, whispering, Stay with me. Stay with me. That man was Commander James Rourke. He had been too weak to remember her face clearly, too fogged with pain to recall the moment. Until now. Until the quiet soldier at the gate reminded him with nothing more than a name patch. The other SEALs straightened, eyes darting between their commander and the gate guard they had ignored seconds earlier. Respect shifted like a tide. Emily's throat tightened. She shook her head slightly. Sir, I was just doing my job. But Rourke didn't lower his salute. No, you went beyond your job. You ran through hell when others would have stayed down. You carried me out when I couldn't move. That's not a job. That's courage. His words carried across the gate, drawing stares from soldiers and civilians alike. And for the first time in months, Emily felt the weight of what she had done. Not buried in classified reports, not dismissed as routine duty, but recognized. The news spread through the base like wildfire. By evening, everyone knew. The gate guard wasn't just a gate guard. She was the medic who had saved a SEAL commander's life. Officers who had walked past her without a glance now nodded respectfully. Soldiers stood straighter when they passed. And in the quiet of her barracks, Emily finally let the tears fall. Not because she wanted recognition, but because for the first time, someone had seen her. Truly seen her. Days later, Rourke returned. This time, not with an entourage, but alone. He found her at the gate, as always, standing watch. "I put in a recommendation," he said simply. She frowned. "For what, sir?" "For the Silver Star. For valor under fire." Emily's heart stopped. "Sir, that's overdue," Rourke cut in. "You're not invisible, Hart. Not anymore." The video slows, images flashing. The dusty road in Kandahar, her blood-streaked hands pressing on a wound. The roar of helicopters, the shadow of the gate, the moment of the salute. The narrator's voice returns, deep and steady. Sometimes the world places you in the background. Sometimes your story is buried under silence. But courage cannot stay hidden forever. And even the smallest post can hold the greatest hero. Emily Hart would later stand not just at the gate, but on a stage, her silver star gleaming under the lights. The applause thundered, but in her mind, she was back in the desert, whispering to a dying man, "Stay with me." And he had. Because of her. The music swells. The screen fades to black. She was only assigned to the gate, until a SEAL commander saluted her first. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Because behind every uniform, there's a story worth telling.